Welcome. And if you clicked on this, then kudos. Uh, maybe you know what this is. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're like, what is this? I've never heard of this movie. Um, yeah. So I'm John Stark, Mac the Movie Guy, and I'm a blind film critic, and I'm about to tell you about The Janes. In case you don't know what that is, it's a documentary that HBO put out about Roe v. Wade, abortion rights, right around 1970s-ish in Chicago. And they actually put this out before the Supreme Court decision. So this film is not a reaction to the Supreme Court decision. My watching it may be a reaction to the Supreme Court decision. Maybe I was more interested in this documentary because of that. But this documentary came out like a week before that. So I thought this was good. It has audio description. The illustrious Mr. Roy Samuelson is the narrator of this film. I always find it interesting sometimes when I'm like, would I have picked a man or a woman, would have asked for a man or a woman? And there was a guy on an abortion doc. And I thought that was interesting. There are two sides to that. You know, is this a story that should be told by women? Should it also be narrated by women? But at the same time, it's also kind of convenient to have the male voice be the narrator, because so few men speak in this documentary that you're always aware of who the narrator is. So if you're like losing track or whatever, having a hard time focusing, you know whose voice is not part of the film and is your audio description. It pops more. So there's two sides to that coin that I could see the argument made either way. As far as the documentary, it's so far my favorite documentary this year because it actually kind of made me interested in something that I didn't know about. And also, I felt like I learned something about something I cared about. And it was told in such a way that I felt like the story was compelling from beginning to end. And some of the other documentaries this year have not necessarily nailed all of those things. They haven't quite, they've been fine, but not great. This is the first, I would say, great documentary of 2022, at least for me, that I've seen. I know there are other documentaries, I just haven't seen every single documentary that's been released this year. This is the first one that I would, if it's eligible, I would consider for a documentary feature. I have a feeling it's probably not, but fingers crossed that HBO found a way to make this eligible this year. Because, I mean, my God, I can't imagine it wouldn't be considered. I feel like it would win this year. If HBO had the foresight to put this in at least one theater before they put it on HBO Max to give it a qualifying run, yeah, it'll get a nomination. So this is really about a network of women who were operating and sort of an illegal network, but it doesn't really start there. It lets you sort of slowly into this world of what abortion was like and how hard it was to acquire abortion, and how in Chicago, like, actually the mob was doing abortions. And if you if you wanted to get an abortion done in Chicago, you actually just contacted the mafia, and it cost you some money, and they kind of took you to a hotel room, and usually like you and another girl, and a guy from the mafia came in and did it and kind of left you guys, and you paid, and they left. And of course, everybody was scared because it's the mafia. So, like, you don't really want to get involved with the mafia. And I don't think people want the mafia running abortions. So, I hope that's not the new business plan for 2022. Because we've definitely gone in the wrong direction if we have a resurgence of mafia so they can come back and get in the trade again. But it talks about how it transitions out of that and eventually into women running this clandestine network and how they're operating under the radar, but then also not really under the radar because it's kind of like the worst kept secret. They've been doing it for so long that they kind of even stop looking over their shoulders a little bit, until something happens. But basically, that something happens at the same time there's a court decision, so it just sort of moves you through this little window of time with this group of women, and they all sort of are just talking about Chicago. So it's this singular sort of experience, about a larger American experience, about a moment in time in history. So it worked on many levels. Obviously, for some people, it just will never work for them. They won't want to watch this documentary, and that's fine. There are plenty of things that I never want to watch when I look at them either. Dinesh D'Souza, for some reason, just keeps making movies. He calls them movies. I just don't watch them. So I'll trade you this, and you can go watch a Dinesh D'Souza movie and see what he's got going on. Yeah, I thought the narration, especially for what I would call a fairly softball film to narrate, was fine. I mean, Roy does good work. It was well written. It's mostly a talking head documentary, so you're just bouncing around from person to person to person to person. This is not like a hidden camera investigative documentary behind the scenes. They show you some footage of the time period, but this isn't one of those, like The Cove, where they sneak in with the cameras and they get the footage that they were never supposed to get. It doesn't rely specifically on visual evidence. It relies a lot on testimonials. So it's a pretty easy listen for those of us who are blind and visually impaired, and for anyone else, it's just kind of an interesting film to experience, to listen to watch, whatever you want to say. If you feel like this is up your alley, subject matter wise, if you're interested in this, I thought it did a good job. I'm not just giving it thumbs up just because the timing is right. I actually like this documentary. I would have liked this documentary regardless. I just think it's well made. So, that's what I think about The Janes. Give it a check. It's on HBO Max. And HBO, if for some reason you don't know what HBO Max is and you just use HBO regularly, I don't know that you can get it with audio description on regular HBO, but get up on that HBO Max. And I'm going to give The Janes an A. Yep. That's how I feel about it. I like it. And let me know what you think in the comments. Throw me a like and a subscribe. Or watch my subscriber count go down because I just gave this movie an A. One of two things is totally possible. Who knows? Just by me reviewing this film, it's like I feel like I'm treading into shark waters. And my website is macthemovieguy.com. You can check out the audio description project to see what else has audio description, and the adna.org will let you know who has described what's, kind of like Roy Samuelson. You can check out his career is on there, the whole thing. So give it a check. Check out The Janes on HBO Max. It's worth your time unless you are just totally opposed to the subject matter, in which case, cool. Dinesh D'Souza's got a new documentary out. Something about mules or donkeys or something. I don't know. He's trying to make something. He's doing something again. Dude was in jail. Okay. It's easy to make fun of Dinesh D'Souza. Anyway, Yeah, that's it. I'm moving on.